Are you coming back to school with me? We could have done it all so easily.
Hello, everyone. My name is Craig Thompson-Wood. I'm your host on Teaching with Board Games, and here today with Dan Hughes, the author of the Kickstarter game, which has just come out, CoraQuest.
The co-author.
Co-author, yes.
Co-designer.
Co-designer,
yeah.
co-author. Like the other one is the Cora designer. But she's not with us today. It's past her bedtime in England, and so unfortunately she couldn't make it. But thank you, Dan, for coming on today.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
So just a little bit about yourself. So how long have you been in board games and games?
Like most people my age, I suppose. I was into kind of role playing and Warhammer 40,000 and all that kind of stuff in my late teens, very early 20s, and then slowly as life took over, I drifted away. And then about 10 years ago now, I started drifting back. I discovered Carcassonne and Shadows over Camelot and things like that. Got more and more excited by games until I was fully in the need to collect everything phase of board gaming, and then and I just kind of kept in it ever since. Really, I've done stuff. The other thing I often have liked to do throughout my life is kind of do a bit of writing and do a bit of podcasting and stuff like that. So I kind of got into all that side of thing in the board gaming kind of area as well. I got involved with the Dice Tower, which I'm still vaguely involved with. So same story as everybody, really. Grew out of it in my 20s and grew back into it in my 40s. Basically.
Sounds very, very much the same as me. Yeah.
yeah. There's people of a certain age, that's generally the story. If you're over the age of 40, that generally is what happened to you.
Yeah. And so, what games are you playing right now, like board game wise, or are you back into the Games Workshop games, or?
No. I got a bit tired of painting, so I do like Games Workshop stuff. The last Games Workshop thing I played was Warcry, which is really, really good. I'm a bit of everything, really. I'm a bit of an omni gamer. With COVID and stuff, my gaming group kind of dissolved and never really got back to the full flow of things. But last game I played was Paladins of the West Kingdom. That was just on Tuesday. I've been playing a lot of Glenmore 2, which is a game I really like. I like kind of medium Euros. I'm not really a heavy Euro type player. And then I've got another gaming group where I play role-playing games with them, but also kind of a merry, trashy, dungeon crawly, all that kind of things. I can't even remember what the last game I played with those was. But yeah, so I'm into a wide swath of board games. Generally, don't like to go too light. Don't really like that many party games, but anything kind of in between those two things, I'm up for. And also, I'm a massive fan of family games and kids games, especially. I used to run, before COVID, I used to run a kids board game club every month, and aimed at the kind of under 10s. And I've got because I've been reviewing children's board games alongside my daughter Cora for a number of years. I've got a huge collection of lots of quite interesting kids games. So I used to supply the library and take them down to the local board. Yeah.
So you do that at the library then? I was just going to ask.
No, I had the library of games. I did it at the local board game shop, but that unfortunately never reopened after COVID. So we're kind of on hiatus until another better venue turns up, really, until we can do that again. But that was a lot of fun as well. I'm really into games designed for kids rather than games that grown-ups force kids to play type stuff. You get a lot of, my 9-year-old plays Terra Mystica. Well, I'm sure they do, but they probably don't enjoy it quite as much as you want them to enjoy it type thing. And the thing they're enjoying is being with you, not the game. So I like a game that everyone can play on the same level, really.
Right. So you and Cora, you first got started with your segment on the Dice Tower. You mentioned you've been doing that for several years now. Like, how did that all start, and what's that been like for you?
I started on the Dice Tower on their podcast because I set up a gaming group, and I did a little bit back in the day. The Dice Tower used to do used to do little segments in their actual podcasts where they invited people on to do little 2-minute bits. I did a thing about starting my board game group and all that kind of stuff. And then one day I was on Reddit, I think, and they were talking about what kids games do you play and things. And I couldn't be bothered typing out my answer, so I thought I'm just gonna turn on the camera on my laptop, and I'll go through some of the games that I play with Cora. She was only 4 at the time, then maybe even 3, so really kind of basic young kids games. And so I did that, and Cora was there as well. So I beckoned her over and said, "Do you want to?" And she was actually quite good at it. She was quite photogenic. She was quite charismatic in front of the camera. She looked at the lens, which is something I am constantly forgetting to do, and all that kind of stuff. And so because I had this kind of relationship with Tom already, only a kind of very peripheral relationship, but because I knew that all you need to do to get on the dice tower is send something into the dice tower. There's no kind of process to go through other than send it in, and if Tom likes it, he'll stick it on. I thought, oh well, I'll do a little bit of a segment about kids board games, because there's nothing really being talked about kids board games in the kind of mainstream board gaming media type stuff. So I sent him something in. He did it, and then got quite a good response. Really, we were doing it almost weekly for about a couple of years. So kind of Cora was 4, 5. Then we went a bit more sporadically, and now we do it even more sporadically. But every now and again, you'll see a kids game review pop up on the Dice Tower from ourselves, and it's just something fun to do together. I've always been keen on doing something creative, just messing about, really. Punk rock media creation, that's what I like to call it. just do it yourself. Just turn the camera on. Anyone can do this kind of stuff, and just go for it, really.
I remember when I first started seeing it. I mean, it really, as you say, it was something very different. I remember thinking, wow, I was interesting because, as you say, Cora being so young and being so photogenic on the thing was one unusual. Like it was interesting to see. Plus the fact that you're doing these kids games, which was tying into what I was looking at doing, which is gamification and game-based learning, using board games to help kids to learn things. So it was nice to see. So yeah, it was definitely like one of the more interesting segments I used to see on the Dice Tower. I haven't been watching a lot of that stuff lately. I've been doing other things, but I mean, it's been. I remember I watched a lot of that before, and when I saw your segments come up, I'd always make sure to watch those ones. It was interesting.
Well, yeah, thank you. I think the thing that people liked, the thing that I liked, was the fact that it wasn't me standing there giving my opinion with Cora sat next to me. All I was doing really was facilitating Cora talking about the game. So asking kind of Socratic questions, not leading questions, just open questions about what did you like about it, why did you like it, all that kind of stuff, and letting her come forward with her opinions. Really, my opinion on the kids game didn't really matter, especially younger kids games, because a lot of really young kids games, you're playing. The fun is with playing with your children. It's not within the game. But as kids get older and older, you can both gain enjoyment from the actual game itself, which is great. But yeah, so it was all about facilitating her expressing herself rather than my opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, you wouldn't give your opinions, but what you would provide was what kind of elements and things could be in the game that parents might be looking for, and understanding the just more depth into the game, rather than just the opinion of do you like it, do you not like it, but just these are some things you will find in it, which I found also a good thing to know too. Like, okay, if I'm looking at this game, what kinds of things is it offering in terms of education and fun, etc.
Yeah, because there's no, I mean, and there's still not, to a certain extent, although there are more people covering these things, but there's so many fascinating children's games out there, and very few ways of finding out about them. Really, I go to Essen usually every year. Didn't go last couple of years, but you walk into Essen, and one of the things that really kind of amazes me is the wealth of kids games there that never get reported in the places I normally get my board game media kind of content from, because no one's sitting there talking about them excitedly, because they're all, I don't know, they're just in a different world, I suppose.
I am.
Yes, yeah, you are. Yeah.
I've never been to Essen. I've never been. It's a bit of a jump for me to go all the way to Germany. Essen is like the big. For those of you who don't know, Essen is a huge board game convention that happens in Germany.
Yeah, it is.
What city in Germany? Or was it change?
Sorry?
Which
What's it?
city?
Essen. The city's
Oh,
called Essen.
Essen. Oh, city of Essen. Okay.
I think it's called Spiel is the actual convention, but everyone calls
Okay.
it Essen.
Essen. Okay.
But the interesting thing about Germany is Germany's got a very different culture around games than certainly the UK, and I don't know about Canada and the USA, but it's very much more of a family thing there, and there's a lot more because I go to I've been to American cons and I've been to UK cons as well, but there's always a lot more focus on family gaming. There's always a lot more kids at Essen than there ever has been in any of the other cons
Oh,
I've
that's
been
great.
to.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's held during the kids' holidays as well, and the whole families come and just play games. There's so much more family gaming within Germany, I think, than I think it's a real cultural thing within Germany.
I really have to try and make it out there one day because that sounds great. I mean, in North America, like I've always found that when I play games, I find, and I mean, it sounds very stereotypical, but when I play somebody from Europe, like because I have European friends here and stuff, I find that they are always it's almost like a European genetic thing that they're always better at the board games. They always have better strategies. They always have, it's more, and I don't know whether it's because at a younger age they're learning these things from the family because it is part of a family thing that they it's sort of ingrained in them from a younger age or not. I mean, I played board games when I was younger, but I don't know that I ever developed a lot of these strategies that's like I don't know, I just like I see like my typical thing I see with the Europeans is players that I've played against it's just yeah they tend to have it more together with the strategies.
That's interesting. That might be a bit of selection bias there. The people who were go getting enough to leave their country and seek out other opportunities elsewhere may be natural. I don't know. Be interesting.
Maybe
Be
yeah.
interesting to. You should do a sociological study on that. Give up teaching. Do a sociological study
Do a
on all that.
PhD.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there you go.
Study a PhD, but yeah, it's interesting. But I mean, yeah, because like and I mean the evidence there too is like one game I do play a lot of still is Blood Bowl, the Games Workshop game Blood Bowl, and we've had players come over like I remember we've had one from France, from Germany, and England, and those players are always in the top like 5 at a tournament. Like they'll be somewhere in the top 5. If they don't, one of them doesn't win, then they're somewhere right up there in the top brackets. I mean, always.
Oh, Blood Bowl's in my DNA. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, Blood Bowl was one of the games I used to play when I was 18.
yeah.
Yeah.
That one's it's cyclical for me. And it's coming back up again. It's come back into its phase for me. All right, so getting on to CoraQuest, one thing you said in the box is that it began as an idea for something you to do just during COVID lockdown. You and Cora said, hey, we're doing math and this. Why don't we just make a board game of it? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you found it, but I feel that the COVID lockdown, and I'm talking kind of mainly specifically about because we've had several COVID lockdowns over the last couple of years.
True.
But the initial COVID lockdown, that long stretch where we thought initially it was only going to be 2 weeks and then it went on and on forever, I feel that was the hardest on the preteen people. If you're talking kind of in general, I mean, obviously it was hardest on people who actually got COVID and things, but because my teenagers, they all had their social media, they were still chatting with friends and things like that. The kind of preschoolers, their entire world is their parents anyway. So really being locked in a house with their parents wasn't that much different for them. But for Cora, who was 8 at the time, this is just a kind of age where parents are starting becoming slightly less important. The friends are starting to become important. Developing your social skills and your awareness and developing who you are. And then suddenly all that shuts down and you're back to being locked in with your parents with no real way of communicating with your friends anymore. I mean, fair enough, we can give them a call and things like that, but that's still relatively tightly regulated by ourselves. She has to come and ask, all that kind of thing. She didn't have a phone and things. So I was very conscious that I wanted lockdown to be a relatively positive experience, and no disrespect to the school at all, because they were completely caught on the back foot. But the home learning they were sending home wasn't particularly inspired. It was things like research Romans on the internet and write a page on it. And it's like, well, that's not great. And some maths worksheets and things like that. And so we used to spend the morning doing set schoolwork, and then the afternoons, I used to try and think of something quite fun to do and things like that. And Cora's a big board gamer, and I've never really wanted to design a board game, but I thought, well, shall we see if we can design a board game and kind of incorporated kind of probabilities into there, incorporated some design technology. So we did a lot of work on the computer, drawing out maps and things like that. We decided she decided she wanted to do a dungeon crawling game because she'd seen me play these dungeon crawling games, but I've always kind of said, well, they're a little bit complex, or to be honest, a little bit dark in theme. For you to play. So a dungeon crawling is like where you're a character and you're going through fighting monsters and going through a dungeon, usually fighting monsters and doing various quests and things like that. All quite exciting stuff, but often these days quite dark in tone. And so she wanted to do that. And so alongside that, we were watching Lord of the Rings trilogy on our afternoons and things like that. And we were just kind of immersed in this fantasy world. It's kind of a Tolkien project almost. So yeah, so there was art. I got to write all the backstories for all the characters we were creating. Got to do some maths with the probabilities, things like that, design technology. So just kind of all these skills, but never really explicitly saying, now we're doing maths and now we're doing English and things like that. Now we just
That's
did
the
all
best
that.
learning.
Yeah. Well, and to be honest, it was half to help learn, but also half just to keep occupied and stimulated and things like, because it's great watching TV all day for one day, but when it goes on for weeks and weeks and weeks, even kids get atrophied after that. So just keep things moving, keep things popping, keep things exciting. I mean, we did other things as well. We made a stop motion Lego film and things, just all that kind of stuff to keep the juices flowing and the creative excitement going. And so we designed this dungeon crawling game that was kind of, we intended it for just us to play together and things. And then do you want me to go on to what happened next, or do?
Yeah, I was gonna say, so at what point then, did you realize, hey, we've got something here, and to put it on Kickstarter, that seems like a huge leap from a home project to boom, I'm gonna ask for crowdfunding to send this all over the world.
Yeah, well, it was a series of shorter leaps than that. What happened was, I do a podcast with my friend Mike, who also works at the Dice Tower, and I was talking about this just as a topic of conversation rather than anything else. And I've got a close friend called Gary King, who's an artist, and he was listening to it, and for a joke, he mocked up a cover for it, saying CoraQuest coming to Kickstarter soon. And sometimes when you just haven't visualized something or something, and then something just suddenly goes bang, and it goes, oh no. And I never really thought at that point it wasn't, oh, it could go to Kickstarter, but I thought I could share this with people. This could be something, if I tidied this up, this is something we could start sharing people. And Gary, who's a very generous man, said, well, I'll help you, I'll do all the graphics for you and things like that if you want. So we initially started putting it together as a print and play for people to do, and then we doing playtesting of that. Got some friends to playtest it. Did a lot of playtesting on Tabletop Simulator and things, and then that's kind of when the leap went to, wouldn't it be interesting as an experiment, as an adventure, to see if we could actually publish this, to see if we could actually do this. And I've got another friend. This is where having all these friends comes into the thing. I've got another friend who's basically a board game project manager, professional board game project manager. He used to work for the people who did Fog of Love, and now he works for the Plastic Soldier Company and things. So I just kind of ran it by him and said, would you be interested in making sure we don't fall on our faces here? Would you be, because we don't really know what we're doing, sending it to manufacturers and logistics and all that kind of stuff. Would you come in and help us with that bit? And he said, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So we just thought, well, let's have a go. More of an adventure as anything else. And Cora was still very much involved at this point. And just to kind of talk about how things get made, really. At this point it was becoming less of a school project and more of an adventure, but still, maybe a game you made, Cora, could be in people's hands, and that's pretty exciting, and all that kind of stuff. So we I mean, there was a lot of work alongside that, but we moved towards Kickstarter, and then it did really well on Kickstarter. It got over, well, roughly around 5,500 backers, which is pretty immense. And that, yeah. So I've forgotten what kind of order you want to talk about things, but I do tend to talk, so interrupt me if you.
No,
if
it's
you
all
need to.
good. You know, you're still on track. I was just asking like how it all the process started going to
Yeah,
becoming the Kickstarter, and this is all good.
And I think the reason we went to Kickstarter rather than looked at traditional publishing as well is because we had a very clear vision of what we wanted to do, and we weren't convinced that a publisher would let us ultimately. And that vision was around sharing, not only sharing the game we'd made, but sharing the joy in creation that we'd experienced. So we were always intending this to be a customizable game. Cora and I made it so we could just make it ourselves and add bits on and take things off, and that by its very nature meant that other people could do that as well. And so we wanted to kind of leave the keys in ignition, if you like, or leave the engine open for people to get in and have a tinker around, especially families to get in and have a tinker around. And we also wanted this to be a game that was made by kids. Well, made by a kid and actually, no, that's not true. Made by a family. So made by a child and an adult in collaboration. You know, this collaborative creative act. But also we could share that collaborative creative act with other people. So we ended up all the art in CoraQuest, well, 99% of the art in CoraQuest is all done by kids. Now, initially that was all done by Cora, and Gary has basically traced it and then coloured it in. But then we opened that up to like people who were following along with the project, you know, people on the Facebook group and things like that. So there's art in this game. There's art from over 200 kids in this game. Now, some of that art might just be an apple core on a table. That's one kid, and that's all they contributed. But Gary has taken all these drawings in from kids from around the world, and just collated them all and picked and done and just made it into a kind of cohesive whole, but one that still is very clearly drawn. But I mean, you can tell by just the cover, it's very clearly drawn by kids and just spruced up a little bit.
Yeah.
And we
there's a difference between a kid's drawing and an adult who's drawing to try to draw like a kid.
Yeah.
And this to me, when I looked at it, is clearly kids' drawings,
yeah,
which I found so
it.
interesting. And when we actually played this game, my grandson Timothy and I, we played it, and when he was looking at it, he's kind of looking at the picture. I saw him looking at it like kind of like quizzical, like, okay, well, what's with these figures and things? I said, well, did you know? I'll tell you something. All of these were drawn by different kids all over the world, and so I was like, whoa, that's so amazing. Now I will admit, I was meaning to have him do something to try and contribute for the project, but I got distracted and forgot to do it.
Yeah.
So
Well, that happens.
yeah, I feel bad because I would like to, but that's okay. I mean, it is what it is.
Well,
he was still very impressed with it.
There's still may be opportunity in the future anyway, depending on how well it does at retail. But the thing about having kids' drawings in there that is very important to me is that often kids think, especially with drawing, that their drawing isn't good enough. If it's not like the drawings they're trying to copy or they're trying to emulate, or you know, it's not like a cartoon and things, they think their drawings isn't good enough. And what we wanted to do was kids to create their own content for this game and to work with their families or whoever really to create something for this game. As I say, the joy of the creative act. And we wanted them to feel comfortable doing that. So by having kids' drawings there, which granted are coloured in nicely and things like that, but we feel that makes it more accessible and more achievable, a more achievable goal for a child to do, because they know they can do that because other kids have done that. And we've got this app on our website where you can create your own hero or enemy and things. But what we were keen to do is put that, kids be able to print that out so it looks official, because kids like things to look official. Do you know what I mean? And so print it out so it looks official. So it's just the same as the characters Cora made, because it is just the same. There's, you know, Cora hasn't got this secret sauce where she's a game designer and other kids can't be. I mean, I'm certainly no genius game designer. We just we just put some ideas together, and you know, I'm proud of the game. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not saying what we've done any other family couldn't do. It's just we stuck at it longer. That's probably the only difference. So I'm as I keep saying this, but I'm really keen for that joy of creation to be passed on to the people who get the game. I mean, you don't have to create; you can just use what we've made.
Right.
But at least the opportunity's there, the potential's there. It's a little box of potential. I like to think of it as.
So they can go to the app, and on the app they can not only have you read the stories to them, but they can also have the opportunity to create their own characters. So how does that work then exactly? Let's just talk through that. Like, so they upload a drawing, or
draw
they
a
draw
picture, and
directly
you draw a picture. You could take a photo of it. A lot of people have taken photos of their pets instead, and done that. Then you just upload it to the website. Then you can choose the stats for your hero and things like that. Choose a special ability. We got some pre-done special abilities, but kids are also able to make their own kind of special abilities and, you know, superpowers and things like that. And then you print it out, and on the printout it'll give you the card, but it'll also give you little standees, so you can use the standees in the game.
Okay. You know what I'll do? So there's this video. I still have to do I still have to do the video for the review of CoraQuest, and then after I'm doing that, maybe I'll just as a bonus video as well. I will do I'll do like where I'm doing a screen share, and I will just record my screen, and I'll show the process of making one.
Yeah.
So that way people who are watching the channel can. Yeah.
It's really. I mean, that process is really easy to do. It's not. Yeah. It's not rocket science. It's just a few, you know,
clicks and uploads.
Yeah, bits and bobs. I mean, we try to keep the mechanics. One of the things with actual gameplay is one of my aims, particularly because me and Cora made this game, and then you know, she was involved all the way through the development of it, but I didn't make her sit down every day and play it through it 4 or 5 times in playtesting, because that would have killed the love of the game for it. So basically I kind of took it and developed it a little bit, and then every time there was a major decision to be made, I went back to her. We may have played a few rounds through and said, how did you think, this way, or this way? And then she would make the choice on which way we went. So she was involved throughout the entire thing, but I don't think any 8-year-old could actually sit through the amounts of replay of the game. I mean, I think most designers will tell you they hate the game by the time they've come out the end of it, and I certainly didn't want Cora to hate the game. I wanted this to be an exciting
positive experience, yeah.
Exciting positive experience rather than something that Dad makes me do. So one of the key aims, now whether we were successful or not, I don't know. I think we were, but others may not, and that's fine. Is we wanted to keep the gameplay simple enough for a child to be able to get, but complex enough for the adult to be able to get enjoyment from playing it with the child as well. So we wanted it, as I say, an even playing field here, that both would get excitement from it rather than one person having to play down or one person having to play up. So yeah, so it's a difficult balance to hit, and you can hit that with one group of players, one family, and completely miss it with another, because every family's got different dynamics and things like that. But I'm generally pleased on how it all worked out. So it's a relatively basic game. There's only 2 stats: move and attack, really, and health 3, and special powers. So because it's a relatively simple game, it's easy to add things on, as I say, bolt things on, and just invent ways of doing things. And some kids have come up with some immensely overpowered characters, which I knew would happen. It's just fantastic, who just romp through the dungeon, slaying people left, right, and centre. And that's how they enjoy playing the game. That's absolutely great. And other people have, other people are getting really into the infinite balance of things like that, and that's great as well. You know what I mean? I'm happy for the game to be. The thing that I really wanted was to have a bunch of people who say, well, in my house we pay CoraQuest like this, you know what I mean, and have that.
This is the way we enjoy it.
Yeah, this is the way we enjoy it. So this is the way we play it. The rules are all flexible, basically.
Right. I guess some people put ketchup on their scrambled eggs, and to me that's travesty. I mean, but that's the
Exactly.
way they enjoy it. That's the way they enjoy it. So I have to say, like, first off, I did really enjoy CoraQuest.
Oh,
I thought it
good.
was great. We had great fun with it, and what really surprised me is how hard it was. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness! I know it's co-op, and co-op should be challenging, but as we went through, it's like, okay, and the orcs come in, and the first turn I realized, oh wait, they get two actions. So they
Yeah.
weren't moving in. They still get to attack, or if they're right next to you, they each attack twice. It's like, oh my goodness, this is actually like by the end, we were all just like ragged. All four characters were just at their last points when we
Well,
did that snake.
that's what I want. I want people to be right, because that's where the excitement comes in.
Yeah.
Just if it's all down to the wire, that's where the excitement comes in for me. But I do get that some people get quite dispirited at that as well. It's really difficult balancing a game for families, because you get some kids who will run through that dungeon, opening every door there is, and the monsters swarm in and kill them all, and then for them it's too easy. But then if you just let that be the way the game's meant to be played, then it's no fun for people who want to play a little bit more tactically, and some, there's lessons to be learned in not opening every door, not, there's lessons to be learned in having to develop a tactical and strategic type thing, and controlling your impulses, because if you take on too much, it gets, I'm not trying to give people moral lessons or anything like that, but it can't just be a cakewalk. But yeah, no, it is hard. It is hard. And,
Yeah,
in retrospect, I think I would have put an easier. We did a slightly easier version, and if I had my time again, I'd make an even easier version for people to play. But
okay. Well, I think, as you say, there's ways with modifiable characters and things. You can always make it easier on your own if you want to, or have
yeah,
show up some things. Like there was one thing I wasn't sure about. Like I was playing the healer cat, and when I was healing, it said like heal adjacent heroes. I'm like, so if I get, say I'm really lucky and I get two heals, do I heal two heroes who are all heroes who are adjacent to me, or just choose one hero and they get two?
yeah, yeah. Well, officially it would be just one hero, but
Yeah.
again, it's
Again,
play
you can
however you
do,
want
yeah,
to do. And
yeah.
that healer cat. So it's interesting, because I did loads of playtesting. I did playtesting with kids. I did playtesting with adults. I did as much playtesting as I possibly could. And then you put it out into the wild, and suddenly 2,000 people are playing it in one day, and that's more playtesting than I could have ever
Yeah.
done. And so there's a few things that have come up. Healer cat is probably underpowered, I'll admit it.
Yeah, I think I
um,
healed one all game or something.
yeah,
It was
again, that's a, not to get into the nitty gritty, because I know we're
yeah.
talking but that's a balance thing, because I didn't want, because in our playtesting, too much healing made the game less fun, because there was
No
no
challenge.
risk, there's
Yeah.
no peril. um but yeah, in retrospect, I should have thought about the experience of the player that was playing the healer cat. But anyway, whatever,
Yeah.
we all make mistakes.
One mechanic I did love, I mean, yeah, we're a little bit off topic, but I mean, it's all good. It's all about this thing, but it's just the whole thing you did with, if you don't explore, and having that little torch on top of the explore deck, if you don't explore, it goes down, and just twice, and those spiders are going to swarm you. And it's
Yeah,
just like, okay, every turn, even though it's like, oh, we're trying to deal with these orcs and these gremlins and things, but it's just, I'll run over here. I'll peek over here. Oh no, there's even more. It's like we just have to get sort of retreat and let them chase us for a bit. And okay, try and hit them at range and before they get to us. And it was just the constantly trying to keep searching, even though we didn't want to search. We wanted to just deal with what we had. But that's the comfort. If you just farm, okay, farm this, okay, we're comfortably, and then we'll do this one comfortably. But there's always at that edge of comfort discomfort. You're having
yeah,
to
yeah.
move
Well,
forward. It was,
and for me, that's where the peril and the excitement lays.
yeah.
Is that edge of things almost going wrong. But yeah, so that was important to me. I mean, I am proud of that spider mechanic. That's one thing I'm very
Yeah.
proud of. And the other thing I'm very proud of is the determined thing. So
Mm-hmm.
when you roll a dice and miss, you become determined, which means that you roll more dice next time. Basically, that's
Yeah,
the
get more of a chance
upshot
to
of it.
hit. Yeah.
But that was put in because some of our play testers got very disheartened and disappointed when they didn't hit, and
Again and
that's
again.
and dealing with that kind of disappointment is quite a big thing for kids, especially if you're emotionally invested in the game. And I don't know about how you found co-ops, but my children have always found co-ops much more challenging than competitiveness. They've never had a problem losing, but what they have had a problem with is feeling like they're letting the team down. So my kids have always got more upset when they've lost a co-op than when they've lost a game, because they feel they've left other people. I mean, I'm quite proud of my kids for that. To be honest, I think it shows compassion. But they're so. That's beside the point.
And sportsmanship, that they're not throwing tantrums. Like, I was always terrible with that. I'd cry when I lost a game.
Yeah, well, yeah, just I don't know if it's just genetics or whatever. But my kids have never really been like that. But some kids have. But that's fine. That's why co-ops are very useful. Yeah, that takes a sting out of that disappointment by giving you something positive out of a miss, saying, "Oh, well, I'll get more dice next time." It just takes a bit of that sting about that disappointment, and especially for kids on the younger scale of where the game is aimed. I think that's a really, I'm quite pleased with that mechanic. I think it's good.
And yeah, it never goes back up either. I mean, once that spider thing comes down from 2 to 1, it's just
Yeah.
I was thinking, okay, well, if we search, it's going to go back up to 2. No, I read the rules. No, it stays there. So went down once, and we're like, okay, Timothy, we can't ever do that again. We have to make sure we're always searching. And it was funny too in that, because when I hadn't read I didn't want any spoilers. So when we got to the part where we actually found the snake in the first one, and it was sleeping. Spoilers if anybody's watching this, but so I was like, okay, it's sleeping. Maybe we'll have a turn to run away. And then you're reading the story, and it's sleeping. And then suddenly the gnome yells, and the snake wakes up. It's like, oh god, no! Run! And we all just ran, and we found a place where we could make a strategic formation that we would attack who we wanted it to attack, while everybody else could still attack it. And
Right.
that way.
That's perfect. You see, that's
Yeah.
that's the way that's the way a CoraQuest adventure should go.
Well,
Lots
like I
of
said, yeah, I was
excitement.
just like, whoa, this is so difficult. Like, it was great. I mean, I like that. I think that's part of what I enjoyed about it. Like, if we were playing a co-op game for kids where it was just like, okay, well, I'm just kind of walking you through it for the experience, that's one thing. But this, like I said, this was challenging enough that I was feeling challenged with my North American strategy abilities, and the and Timothy was enjoying it from the gameplay and the thing, and of course rolling dice and fighting monsters and stuff. He was really into. So we both had a great time. So I know
Excellent. I'm
he'll be
glad to
looking to
hear
play
it.
this one again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think he'll do another Kickstarter, or was that once as good?
It's a never say never thing. I'm not a businessman. You know, I'm a nurse. I don't want to be a publisher, as it were. It has been enjoyable doing this Kickstarter, I must admit. I don't have any plans on another Kickstarter. We've written an expansion already for CoraQuest, but we've been very fortunate in that we've got a publishing deal now. So a publisher is going to take it forward, bring it to retail in the spring, summer time. And if that does well, then they may be interested in taking the expansion off us as well. But no, I'm not at the moment. Never say never. I mean, as I say, I've enjoyed it, but it's not where I see my career going. Do you know what I mean? I've got no desire to suddenly become a businessman and all that kind of stuff. There's been very stressful moments within it.
Yeah.
I think I tend to, in retrospect, I tend to remember the good things, and then my wife will go, well, do you remember that time when you were pulling out your hair? Not that there's much hair left, but you know what I mean.
Not anymore. It used to be a full lush.
Yeah, before this, I had it down. It was flowing locks. I looked like a lion, but now I'm grey and bald. Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear it went well, though, because I mean, I've participated in enough Kickstarters, like as a backer. I've never tried to run my own, but just hearing of like seeing how some people can be, they can be absolutely toxic with the thing. So did you really make sure that you were always on top of the Kickstarter, giving regular updates and things? Because honestly, with Cora being involved in this, I was kind of concerned in a Kickstarter perspective that sometimes people could just be so mean.
They can, and I think there was two things that happened. Number one, there was always me as a shield. Cora would never go on the Kickstarter and read the comments herself. You know what I mean? I'm always the filter. But number two, Cora being there almost acts as a shield against that toxicity, because people have been nothing but pleasant. Now, I don't know whether that's because they're all people who are just buying it for their family and were inspired by the project and things like that. So it's a different breed of type of people, but there's been nothing but positivity.
That's great.
I've got one person I can think of that made me go, but other than that, no, it's all been really positive. I mean, I was very keen to be as transparent as possible. Like all my updates were like, well, this is happening, I'm hoping for this date, but we may not. I was never hiding anything from people.
And as I recall, the updates were regular, and I think that's important with the Kickstarters to keep those, even if there's nothing to say, like there's no news, but just give us an update saying there is no news. People appreciate that, and I think that you were very good about that. Yeah,
and you've got their money. I mean, and the other thing is, it's a relatively cheap game. I mean, it was £30, which I don't know what it is in various currencies, but it's on the cheaper side of games. So people haven't invested £300 of their money into something that may not happen, and that can cause anxiety and stuff. I mean, I've got a game I've backed for about £150, biggest Kickstarter I've ever backed for, and I haven't heard anything for a while. I'm going, oh, what's going on? I mean, I don't think they've run off with my money, but it's like that was a lot of money. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Treat me with some respect. I think that's it. I think you need to treat people with respect. You know, they've shown faith in you. They've believed you that you can produce this thing. So it's up to you to let them know where you are with it. And if there are, I've got Frank West, who designed Isle of Cats. He gave me some really good advice right at the beginning of the Kickstarter, and has been a mentor to me periodically when I've needed advice. I've asked him, basically. He's been very, very kind to me. And he always said, look, if there's a problem coming up, just as soon as you know about it, tell your backers about it, because the last thing you want to do is 6 months down the line say, oh, by the way, there was this problem 6 months ago and we never told you about it, but now it's going to be 3 months late. It's like, well, that's not, people see through that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately I'm an amateur, I'm an amateur board game designer, amateur publisher. And so I think people gave some allowances for that because we were always honest all the way through, really.
Yeah, well, I think there was some good advice there with the transparency and the regular updates and things. I mean, I think that's what people want, no matter what. I mean, I think any Kickstarter I've seen, the most levels of toxicity are the ones where the updates don't happen, or when they give us an update, it's just like something ridiculous, like oh, here's a thing on the history of gnomes. And it's like, I don't want anything about gnomes. Who cares about that? Just tell me about what's happening with my what's going on with my game.
Yeah.
And then they try and distract and sleight of hand and look over here. Do not look at the man behind the curtain. And then
just shady business type stuff. And I'm not a shady businessman. I mean, if it had all gone wrong, then I'd have got people's money back to them however I could. You know what I mean? But it didn't. It all went right, so that's all right. Fortunately.
Well, to me, Kickstarter, it's a little bit of risk involved. I mean, I wouldn't have if something had happened and I couldn't get my money back. Like as you said too, it was not that much money. I don't remember how much it was, but it was not that much. And so if you said things happen, I mean, okay, things happen. So I'm not so. But if it's one of those ones where I spent like $200-300 on, then I'm going to be a little more like upset. But if again, I understand things happen.
Yeah, but if something happened, I wanted to know about it when it happened. Not, oh, by the way, as I say, 3 months ago this happened, and now we can't do this. It's like, well, no, why didn't you tell me about that thing 3 months ago?
Yeah. And so, what is the thing from here to retail now? Like, so from the Kickstarter being done, how long before it can be seen in retail?
It's going to be spring, summer. The reason it's going to be longer is, number one, we had an arrangement with the publisher because we didn't initially have a retail plans when we first launched Kickstarter. We felt that it was important for the people who back the Kickstarter to not get a reward, but to be treated with respect, really, and acknowledged that they were the people who made this game happen, because they said they wouldn't have happened. It just wouldn't have happened without them. So we said we want the game to come out a few months after. I want the people Kickstarter to get it a few months before it would hit retail. And there's a few things in there that will be missing from the retail version, but nothing that will affect gameplay massively. The stickers are not going to be in there, and a few less dice, but nothing that will be massive impact. So, and then they went looking for some language partners, and things, and the negotiations for that take some time. And also when they find them, the translation, because it's quite a text-heavy game, translations take some time. So released in China, which is really exciting, and
Oh, wow.
Korea. So basically, they're going to print all those at the same time. So they're going to print the retail English version and all the different language Polish version as well, and there's a couple of others. I can't remember what the other ones were. And there's some in talks as well.
American English probably as well.
Yeah, American. Well, I did put all the U's in. I made sure all the U's were in, and also the I'm getting lots of howls of discontent from American people that the catapult is called a catapult, not a slingshot. It's like, no, we call it a catapult in the UK, and it's getting called a catapult. We've had enough of your cultural imperialism. Anyway, so basically, yeah. So it's going to be spring summer. It's not actually being printed yet, the retail version. It's just gone off to the printers now, I think. So, but I'm not really much to do with that side of thing. That's all Bright Eye Games is going to be publishing.
And do you have a North American distributor?
Yeah. Well, Bright Eye do. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Great. I know, like, actually, the first interview. Do you know the game City of Zombies?
I do know the game Cities of Zombies. Yeah.
Yeah. So the designer of that, he was the first one I did the interview with, so he was when I first found out about the game, he didn't have a North American distributor. So a friend of mine who runs a store here, she had them shipped over. So I was wondering if you were going to be having that same problem.
No, we're going to go. I think Bright Eye going through PSI, who are like a pre-distributor distributor. Then they put it out to all the other distributors. So okay. It's going through a proper publisher and all that. Yeah, City of Zombies. I played that a long time ago. It's a maths game, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
To me, I think it's like the best maths game I've ever seen for teaching basic math facts. In fact, I'm going to be doing a video filming at my class tomorrow, where I'm doing it on the screen through an LCD projector. We just do a what's it called? In a different way. I can't think of the proper term right now, but
variant.
A variant. We're doing a variant where we are doing it differently, just to get the kids practicing with some basic facts, and just as a class challenge. Can we? I put 8 zombies down. Can we use this one dice roll and in different ways get all 8 zombies?
Yeah,
we just
I found it too hard. I couldn't go.
It takes practice. It takes practice, but you know what? After a while, like, my brain just starts to, like, I can almost just see like numbers flashing in front of my face as things are just playing, and it's just
like
what
the
I love
Matrix.
about it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just things playing. And yesterday I put something up on Twitter. Like, it was like, okay, if anybody can see this, like, I couldn't get the 11 or the 17, and I sort of looked for a second. Oh, I see how to get the 11 now. It's just like, it encourages such play, and it's just such an excitement too. The kids get so excited when they can get one, particularly when they get one. I said, I can't see how to get the 17. And somebody's like, I can. It's like, really? Oh, so yeah, it's great. But yeah, glad to hear that's going to be CoraQuest will be making it to North America, because I think that I'm really enjoying it. I think that there's other families going to enjoy it. And it's nice where I can promote a game and also to have people around here that can be able to enjoy it as well, not just me with my Kickstarter copy.
Well, exactly. It needs to be. I'd like it to be the world to have a go at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the world is going to have a go at it, like you're saying. Like, just the thought of that, like Korea and Poland and China.
I know. And the most exciting thing is we get a free copy. So I've got my in shrink copy of CoraQuest behind me. So I'll get a Korean one to put in there, and I'm not even sure. I'm not sure what Chinese language it was. I'm guessing it'd be Mandarin, but I'm not sure.
Probably.
It could be Cantonese.
Yeah.
But anyway, get that put in there, and just a Polish one. Yeah. French. That's the other language. French.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's exciting.
So did you know, though, that Cora is the second youngest international board game designer?
Oh, no, well, no. Who's the first?
I'm blanking on the name. I believe her name is Miranda Evans, but she is the designer of Sleeping Queens.
Oh, well, yes. Well, she's that was ages ago, though. Yeah. She's older now. That doesn't count.
So that doesn't count.
No. Sleeping Queens. Yeah, no. In fact, we were looking at Sleeping Queens. Not looking at it for inspiration, but there's a card in there, isn't there? Or is it like a little pamphlet? Anyway, they've got a picture of the family on the back of it.
Yes. One card.
And saying, look, she's this family have done a board game, as inspiration. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, there's a few of them. I can't remember the other ones now. But occasionally you do see that a child has co-designed a. Well,
if you ever remember, just email me or something, because I'd love to know about that, because I find that so interesting. I tell that story every time I play Sleeping Queens or introduce to my class or another teacher. I said, and this is the youngest international board game designer ever, a 6-year-old girl. And they're like, what? It's just, it's amazing.
It's really good in Sleeping Queens as well. Really
it is,
good.
and you can see how she just took a deck of cards and translated it into a game. It's like, that is brilliant. It's so amazing. It's such a great idea. And I love the play and the counterplay. Well, I have the potion, but I have the wand. It's really, really neat. And any class I've introduced it to love it, and the teachers love it. So it's a very popular one thing to in the educational gaming community. Been very successful. So but and CoraQuest, as you say, it's very text heavy, but I found that the fact that you have the how to play video, I found that immensely helpful, because I was honestly look at I'm not good at reading rule books and learning the rules that way. So I love the fact that you had the rules on a video, and once you read it, I was like, oh, that's it? That's easy. Because it was a bit intimidated by, first of all, the pages of text, but it's as you say, very simple.
Text rules. Now that's something I found very hard to do, is writing the rules, because it's a real skill. We ended up getting a rules editor on, so the rules are pretty good. But my copy of the rules were a lot longer than that. It's just tying yourself in verbal knots, trying to explain something and make it as unambiguous as possible. I'm glad you liked the video, because that took me an entire week to do, and I was very frustrated throughout the majority of it. So
didn't show.
No. I put my cheerful voice, but by the end of it, I had a week off, and it took the entire week to do. I was like,
that's actually one thing I've always loved about your videos. You always sound so cheerful.
Well,
and Cora always looks so happy. I'm sure there's
it's all a pretense.
we have to put on our best faces for the videos.
Exactly, yeah. Like, people keep saying, "Oh, you're such a good dad." It's like, no, you do realize I only show you what I'm willing to show you. I don't show you the times when I'm leaving him with an iPad for entire afternoons, or shouting at them because everything's a mask. Remember, everything's a mask.
Everything's a mask. But the fact that you're doing these kinds of things, that you are taking the time with your kids, that you are introducing them to games, that you are, I mean, how many parents do that, have gone to that kind of length, and you say to stick with it, to take it from the, I want you to do something beyond the regular school that teachers are giving you here, to do some learning and all that. I mean, that is an amazing contribution. I think that while I'm sure we all have our moments where we're not the world's ideal parents, but I mean, that is an achievement to be proud of. And I'm sort of saying, well, of course, Cora will remember for the rest of her life. That's
Well, yeah, and I've got this vision of her when she's 85 years old, kind of pulling down the copy of CoraQuest to play with her great grandchildren and things like that. And,
that would be amazing.
This is something me and my dad did together, and there's my photo on the wall. World's oldest man, it'll say on it, and but yeah,
you're still alive.
Still alive at 120. But no, I just, the fact this is going to be something that Cora's going to be talking about for the rest of her life is really special, and it's turned the whole COVID experience, not the entire COVID experience, but it's a little bit of light for us.
Yeah,
in our own family history, a little bit of a.
To think if COVID didn't happen, this wouldn't have happened. That's
exactly.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Dan, for your time.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, this has been great. And for anybody who's been with the channel for a while, I mean, Dan was actually somebody I had mentioned in one of my first videos. I think I'd been on for like 2 months or something, and I was doing a thing about Father's Day. My dad had just passed away, and I thought I want to honor the man who had introduced me to board games. And I was really loving what you were doing with Cora, and anybody who I knew who was a dad on YouTube and doing stuff with their kids. And I reached out to you and said, "Do you mind if I put your stuff on there?" I said, "Yeah, sure."
I remember.
We didn't have a lot of interaction, and so that was like a few years ago now, but still going strong.
Yes, still going strong. Yes. Well, although me and Cora don't do that many videos anymore, but yeah, we're still playing games, and that's important.
That's the important thing. Yeah, and that's great. Okay, well, thanks again, Dan, and we'll sign off. And for everybody else out there, thank you for joining us today. And please do remember to hit the like and subscribe button down below. It really does help the channel. And until next time, I'm Craig Thompson Wood, your host on Teaching with Board Games, saying thanks for coming to the classroom.
Thank you very much.
Are you coming back to school?